Shaheed Bhagat Singh evening.
Good morning to one and all. We are just about to start the conference. So may I request all of you to please be seated and keep your phones on silent mode. Our honorable guests are arriving shortly. So till the time they're arriving, let us see the glimpses of the developments that are taking place in our college. So I request the technical team to please play the glimpses, please show us the glimpses of the college. Once again, a very good morning to all of you. We are starting with the conference, so I again request all of you to please be silent and keep your phones on silent mode. On behalf of Shaheed Bhagat Singh Evening College, I, Dr. Aditi Goyal, Assistant Professor in Department of Commerce, would like to begin by welcoming all our honorable guests, dignitaries, faculty members, and our dear students to today's international conference on Samriddh Bharat, a journey towards the third largest economy. We are sorry to inform that due to some health issues, our chief guest for today, Professor Jagdish Mukhi, former governor of Assam, could not attend the event. However, we are thankful for his acceptance of the invitation and the revered support that he has offered us. Today, amongst us, we have Mr. Pranav Sharma, Consultant, Science Diplomacy, Indian National Science Academy as guest of honor, Dr. S.P. Sharma, Chief Economist, Deputy General, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry as keynote speaker, Professor Anjuvali Tikku, Chairperson, Governing Body of the College. We are extremely grateful for their presence. Just as the lamp enlightens the surroundings, may wisdom and awareness shine upon us. With this positive spirit, I request all our esteemed guests and senior faculty members to please come forward in order to light up the lamp. I also request them to offer floral tribute to Shaheed Bhagat Singh as well. So, to anoint this event with a prayer and give it an auspicious start, I call upon Team Malhar to invoke Almighty's blessings with Saraswati Vandana.
Sai sai ri sa ni ri sa ni pa pa ni pa ma pa ga ma pa ni ga ga sa pa pa ni ma ga ma pa ni sa. Ah, ah, ah. से मेरा पानी तार दे, तार दे, तार दे, माँ सरस्वती शारदे, माँ सरस्वती शारदे। सूर्य ब्रह्म शिव विष्णु गजानन, जिन चरणों को सेवते, हे सूर्य ब्रह्म शिव विष्णु गजानन, जिन चरणों को सेवते। हम शिशु है अज्ञानी माता, इन चरणों का प्यार दे, मीरा पानी तार दे, तार दे, तार दे, माँ सरस्वती शारदे, माँ सरस्वती शारदे, शारदे, शारदे।
Thank you, Team Malhar, for this soulful performance. May I request you all to please rise for Kulgeet of University of Delhi?
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम,
श्रेष्ठ सुंदर दिव्य दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय विहंगम।
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम, सकल वसुधा निज कुटुंब की भावना, संस्कृति सनातन, आधुनिक शिक्षा पुरातन, ज्ञान धाराओं का संगम।
देश की स्वाधीनता हित भूमिका शतकोटि वंदन,
निष्ठा धृति सत्यम के मंगल, दिव्य भावों का समागम।
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम।
भव्य महाविद्यालयों के परिसरों से चिर सुशोभित, श्रेष्ठ गुरुजन कर रहे नित्य छात्र और छात्राएं दीक्षित।
सदचरित्राचार पावन साधना संकल्प संयम,
नवल वैश्विक चेतना नव क्रांति संस्कारों का उद्गम। जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम,
श्रेष्ठ सुंदर दिव्य दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय विहंगम।
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम,
ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम,
ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम,
ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम।
You may please be seated. Here, standing at this platform, I feel extremely proud to share with you all the achievements of our students and developments that have taken place in our college. I would like to request the technical team to present the glimpses of the events organized by the Department of Commerce of the years that have gone by to showcase the dedication and commitment of faculty and students of the department.
शहीद भगत सिंह इवनिंग कॉलेज का नाम भारत के महान सपूत सरदार भगत सिंह के नाम पर रखा गया है। इस कॉलेज की स्थापना 1973 में कामकाजी छात्रों के लिए शैक्षणिक अवसर प्रदान करने के उद्देश्य से की गई। कॉलेज ने अपना पहला शैक्षणिक सत्र 2 पाठ्यक्रमों और 300 छात्रों के साथ शुरू किया, लेकिन बदलते वक्त के साथ इसे सभी विद्यार्थियों के लिए खोल दिया गया। वर्तमान में कॉलेज में 3000 विद्यार्थियों को 104 शिक्षक 5 पाठ्यक्रमों के साथ गुणवत्तापूर्ण शिक्षा प्रदान कर रहे हैं। कॉलेज ने 2022-23 में अपने गौरवशाली 50 साल पूरे कर लिए। इन 50 सालों में कॉलेज ने विचार और दृष्टि की स्वतंत्रता को बढ़ावा देने के लिए एक जीवंत और बौद्धिक रूप से प्रेरक शैक्षणिक संस्कृति प्रदान करके विविध शैक्षणिक और व्यावसायिक क्षेत्रों में खुद को स्थापित किया है। कॉलेज में प्रिंसिपल का कार्यभार संभालने के बाद प्रोफेसर अरुण कुमार अत्री की दूरदर्शी सोच का ही परिणाम है कि पिछले 1 साल में कॉलेज के विकास में काफी तेजी आई है। प्रिंसिपल का कार्यभार संभालने के बाद 65 स्थायी शिक्षकों की नियुक्ति हुई, जिनमें 30 शिक्षकों की नियुक्ति वाणिज्य विभाग में की गई। आपके गतिशील और कुशल नेतृत्व का ही परिणाम है कि कॉलेज का बुनियादी ढांचा लगातार विकसित हो रहा है, जो छात्रों के सर्वांगीण विकास में मदद कर रहा है। आज कॉलेज में पूरी तरह से कंप्यूटरीकृत पुस्तकालय, नई तकनीक संशोधित कंप्यूटर लैब, एसी स्मार्ट क्लासरूम, एसी गर्ल्स कॉमन रूम, प्रभावशाली खेल का बुनियादी ढांचा और ज्ञान प्रसार केंद्र स्थापित हैं। इन सभी सुविधाओं में वाणिज्य विभाग की महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका है। प्रशासनिक दक्षता के लिए कॉलेज इंटरप्राइज रिसोर्स प्लानिंग यानी ERP लागू करने वाला दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय का ये पहला इवनिंग कॉलेज बन गया है। अब छात्रों को अपनी लाइव उपस्थिति देखने और अपने असाइनमेंट ऑनलाइन जमा कराने की पूरी सुविधा मुहैया कराई गई है। वाणिज्य विभाग कॉलेज का सबसे बड़ा विभाग है, जिसमें व्यवसाय और प्रबंधन के विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में विशेषज्ञता वाले 40 उच्च योग्य शिक्षक शामिल हैं। ये विभाग विभिन्न सोसाइटीज के तहत कई गतिविधियों का आयोजन कर अपने छात्रों को नेतृत्व और उद्यमिता का अनुभव देकर उनका समग्र विकास करता है। कॉमर्स एसोसिएशन द्वारा आयोजित वार्षिक उत्सव उन्नति विभाग का सबसे जीवंत कार्यक्रम है, जिसमें दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय के विभिन्न कॉलेजों से 2500 से अधिक प्रतिभागी शामिल होते हैं। इसके अलावा डिपार्टमेंट ई-सेल, इनेक्टस, वित्त और निवेश सेल, मार्कसॉफ्ट जैसी सोसाइटियों में महत्वपूर्ण योगदान प्रदान करता है। विभाग ने विभिन्न क्षेत्रों जैसे सतत विकास, WTO परिप्रेक्ष्य, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय वित्तीय प्रणाली आदि में व्यवसाय और प्रबंधन पर राष्ट्रीय और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सम्मेलन आयोजित करने की परंपरा शुरू की है। पूरे देश से शिक्षाविदों, शोधकर्ताओं और अभ्यासकर्ताओं से हमेशा प्रशंसा और प्रोत्साहन मिला है। आज के सेमिनार का उद्देश्य 2047 के दृष्टिकोण में विचारों का योगदान करने के लिए देश के युवाओं को एक मंच प्रदान करेगा। विकसित भारत का उद्देश्य आजादी के 100 वर्ष यानी वर्ष 2047 तक भारत को एक विकसित राष्ट्र बनाना है। ये दृष्टिकोण आर्थिक विकास, सामाजिक प्रगति, पर्यावरणीय स्थिरता और सुशासन सहित विकास के विभिन्न पहलुओं को सम्मिलित करता है।
Thank you, team, for this lucid walk down the memory lane. It surely brings a sense of pride in all our hearts. May I now request our dignitaries, Mr. Pranav Sharma, Dr. S.P. Sharma, Professor Anjugali Tikku, Professor Arun Kumar Atri, Shri Vinod J. Kaul, Professor Kavita Yadav, and Ms. Shilpi Arora to please take their seat on dais.
Thank you for gracing the occasion. Nice.
Before we start with the proceedings of the conference, it is important to acknowledge our gratitude to the guests who have taken time out of their busy schedule and have graced our event. To begin with the felicitation ceremony, I request our principal, Professor Arun Kumar Atri, to welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Pranav Sharma, with a planter. विकसित भारत का मतलब यही है।
सही बात। Do you want me to come here?
वो आगे चलेंगे तो वही करना पड़ेगा।
हाँ।
Now I request Shri Vinod J. Kaul and Dr. S.K. Grover to present him a planter. With a big round of applause, please. Bigger round of applause, please. Thank you, sir. May I now request Professor Kavita Yadav and Ms. Shilpi Arora to welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. S.P. Sharma, with a planter. A big round of applause, please. I request Professor C.S. Dubey and Professor Satish Kumar to present him a memento. Please keep applauding. Further, I request Dr. Sunil Kumar and Shri Dinesh Kumar to welcome Chairperson, Governing Body of the College, Professor Anjuvali Tikku, by presenting her with a planter. A big round of applause, please. I request Charu Mittal ma'am and Dr. Suman Swami to present her with the memento. Please keep applauding. Thank you, ma'am. I take immense pride in sharing with you all that today we also have amongst us our very dear former principal of the college, Dr. P.K. Khurana. We might not get to see him often in the college, but his words of wisdom, guidance, and vision for the college have always been there with us. I request Dr. Anshu Jain and Ms. Geeta Devi to welcome our former principal, Dr. P.K. Khurana, by presenting him with a planter. Big round of applause, please. I request Shri Sundar Singh and Dr. Saurabh Dubey to present sir with the memento. Please keep applauding for the sir. He has been strength of our institution. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing the event. Since, due to being unwell, Professor Deshmukhi could not join us, I request Professor C.S. Dubey, Secretary, Staff Council, to please accept planter and memento on his behalf. I request Ms. Aruna Singh and Ms. Tuba Shamim to present him with the planter.
दुबे जी आपकी जिम्मेदारी है उनको बताना
With a big round of applause, please.
Then I started working in science. I was a policy secretary for science. I did negotiations.
Now I request Ms. Kalyani Rajan and Dr. Mausami Patra to present him a memento.
Hi, how are you doing?
With a bigger round of applause, please.
See, we really need good people in law, especially with the we just published the AI policy document and send it across, right?
Moving on,
Because Columbia law
I request
document.
Director of the conference, Professor Kavita Yadav, to address the gathering.
Law to actually turn that into a bill. Okay.
Good morning, greetings of the day. On behalf of Department of Commerce, Shaheed Bhagat Singh Evening College, I am obliged and honored to welcome all the distinguished guests, academicians, researchers from academics and industries, my colleagues and students on this epochal day when all the cosmic bodies, lunar and solar, bestow their blessings and allure over the buoyant, hardworking and honest souls. Samrit Bharat, a journey toward the third largest economy. Bharat's resurgence in its 75th year of independence is intertwined with the most enduring stratification, extraordinarily in materialism and holistic metamorphosis, escalating rejuvenation with nature. To invigorate prolific academic deliberation with an ostensible aim of Samrit Bharat, a thriving nation, expedient to curate its move not only wiser but miser. Symphony of knowledge, an intellectual spectacle of a melting pot of it together, capable of transpiring a country where homogeneity and conformity are dearly valued with curiosity and equal vanity. Presenting collegiate thoughts through prolific rendezvous and array of discussions on happiness and contentment. In a word, amidst an enduring legacy of frenetic global tech evolution is noteworthy. The consistent and capacitating endeavor of our college to interweave nation-rich cultural heritage with contemporary educational practices is remarkable. Indian values and education system instill non-measurable values in youngsters like compassion, kindness, and oneness. With NEP combined with the Indian knowledge system in Bharat at 2047, empower and facilitate the skilling, reskilling, and upskilling of our young students who shall be able to conquer all the challenges. Cohesive investment, infrastructure, manufacturing, startup, and the national development ventures in new sunrise domains in equivalence to the socio-economic regime are indeed the gateway to third largest economy in the world. Hale, happy, and harmonious surroundings are enough to enhance the intellect, resilience, and perseverance among residents, citizens, and youngsters, as per Indian scripture, shall be found in Viksit Bharat and Samrit Bharat undoubtedly in the times to come. My best wishes to all. Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am, for your insightful words. I now invite Organizing Secretary of the conference, Ms. Shilpi Arora, to tell us about the conference.
Thank you, Aditi ma'am. A very good morning to one and all present here. I would like to introduce the theme of the conference on Samrit Bharat, a journey towards the third largest economy. In the vast landscape of the global economy, India is ascending as a forerunner, poised to make its mark as one of the world's leading economies. Moreover, the G20 presidency offers India a distinctive advantage point to grasp and anticipate the multilateral and forces shaping decisions that can reshape the fabric of our world order. This conference is a dynamic forum for innovative solutions in the field of commerce and economics. It seeks to foster a collaborative environment where research scholars, faculty members, academicians, industry representatives, and students from diverse backgrounds and countries can share their exceptional approaches to addressing critical contemporary issues. As we all move ahead with the inaugural session, we have with us our guest of honor, Mr. Pranav Sharma, Consultant Science Diplomacy, Indian National Science Academy, and Policy and Diplomacy Advisor, United Nations International Computing Center, and Dr. S.P. Sharma as the keynote speaker. He is the Chief Economist and Director General, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, New Delhi. We also have with us Professor Anjuvali Tikku, Chairperson of Governing Body of the College. We welcome you all. Moving on ahead, we will have a discussion and interaction that will give us meaningful thoughts to ponder over based on the theme of the conference. Following the inaugural session, we have 2 plenary sessions planned for the day. The title of the first plenary session is Trade, Commerce, Business and Economy, which will open multiple avenues for discussion in the field of economic growth of the country. The session will be chaired by Professor Madhu Vij, former Professor, Faculty of Management Studies, University of Delhi. Our other panelists include Professor Mukul from University of Singapore and Mr. Subhashish Nath, founder and CEO of Global Risk Management Institute, Gurgaon. We have the second plenary session post-lunch that starts at 2 p.m. on the topic Challenges and Opportunities in Samriddha Bharat, wherein we will try to understand the areas that can become our strength and the areas where we need to work more on to progress in the journey. Professor Deepak Tandon, Senior Professor of Finance at International Management Institute, would chair the session. Panelists include Professor Kejo Varis from University of Finland and Dr. Vibhash Kumar, Associate Professor from OP Jindal Global University. Parallel to the second plenary session, we have 2 technical sessions where paper presenters from various parts of the country will make contributions in the form of their research papers. We have many of them with us here. We welcome you all. Professor Anjali Gupta, Atmaram Sanatan Dharm College, and Professor Monica Agarwal, Professor in Commerce from Aryabhat College, will chair the technical sessions. Themes of the sessions include finance and economy, marketing, entrepreneurship, and multidisciplinary research, to name a few. Following the technical sessions, we have the valedictory session to conclude the conference. We will have Dr. Ashwini Mahajan, National Co-Convener, Swadeshi Jagran Manch, as the chief guest. Sir is also a professor in PG DAV College in Economics. Professor Alok Pandey, Professor and Vice Dean, OP Jindal University, JSBF, that is the Business School, and Mr. Mohit Girotra, Senior Vice President, Genpact, and an entrepreneur, would join us for the session. We really hope that you will have an enriching experience and the learning and takeaways will help you build academically, and research in this area will help us build a stronger and educated youth that is very important for the growth of any economy. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for explaining the details of the conference. I now call the chairperson, governing body of Shaheed Bhagat Singh Evening College, Professor Anjuvali Tikku, to please say a few words to bless the students.
Namaskar. A very good morning on this pleasant day. एक ऐसा समय है जहाँ पर ना गर्मी ज़्यादा है ना ठंड ज़्यादा है और हम लोग आराम से बैठ सकते हैं, लेकिन आराम से बैठने का दिन नहीं है, because today we are here to explore the nuances of Samruddha Bharat concept. The conference has been organized with that theme, but before I dwell into that, कुछ चीज़ें जो मैं मतलब हमेशा रास्ते से हटकर और लीक से हटकर कहना चाहती हूँ, कर बैठती हूँ। सबसे पहले तो इस मौके पे आप सबका अभिनंदन है, अभिवादन है, स्वागत है। आप शहीद भगत सिंह कॉलेज में आए और आपने अपना समय दिया। और एक बड़ी छोटी सी बात, जब भी शुरू में चल रहा था तो प्रणव जी बोलते हैं कि आई एम द यंगेस्ट वन। मैंने कहा विकसित भारत में और क्या चाहिए, दैट इफ वी हैव पीपल ऑन बोर्ड ऑन पैनल विद देयर एक्सपर्टीज स्पेशलाइजेशन who have created a mark for themselves, and not only for themselves but India as such. That is where we are looking forward to a developed Bharat. Not getting into the details and a long speech, very short, crisp and brief and precise pointers here and there when we are talking about Viksit Bharat 2047. We also need to understand that there is that milestone of 2030 SDGs. And it is an extension of SDGs only that we would be able to create for ourselves a space across the globe. And we all understand from in the recent past, we had that G20 presidency also. We are the world leaders, we are the global leader, but it's all about getting recognition from everyone across the globe that we have put 2047 as the landmark or the touchstone wherein we need to be recognized as developed Bharat, Viksit Bharat. Viksit Bharat जो भी है, जो हमारा अमृत काल है, और ये किससे coincide करता है? 1947. So when we talk about independent India, 100 years of independent India, where we started off from and where we have landed up. So 100 years is a good time, and perhaps it may not have been like that. We did not have that feeling until very lately, but it's only the resurgent India over, may I say, a decade that we are looking forward to being recognized as somebody that others need to follow. And when I say somebody, it is quote unquote. हम कुछ हैं और हम कुछ नहीं, हम सब कुछ हैं. So the world needs to look towards us. That's where we need to have people who are young, who are in that age group of say 30 to 40 today, who are most favored, looked after, sought after people, who have that energy, ability, capability. And what we need to also understand is that I'm not from commerce background. This is being organized by the commerce department. But lo and behold, commerce cannot stand on its own until and unless we talk about law. And I belong to law. That's where I see this as an interplay a combination and an intersection of law for the development of India. And when we talk about development, we always have that cost benefit analysis. So whether it is technology driven, anything and everything, when you look into the SDGs, 17 of them, we have climate change, we have gender inequality. We've got lot many issues wherein it says that no poverty, no hunger, good peace and good institutions. And you name each one of them, 17 of them, each one of them is talking about some kind of development. And and we need to look into lot many questions. Development of whom? From whom? About whom? And all these things take us into the deeper ocean of that these smaller steps that we need take in different directions, whether it is with reference to, and I was just going through in the morning, various schemes that have been floated, various policy decisions that have been taken. So whether it is your education, whether it is health, whether it is climate, you name it, whether it is shelter, each one of them which is relevant with reference to human existence is important, is significant, and we need to focus ourselves in our limited resources, even if each one of us, 1.4 billion, that's the biggest human resource we happen to have. And if each one of us takes that baby step, helps out the other one, helps our neighbors, बहुत कुछ हो सकता है. और क्या चाहिए? और एक हम हैं, हमारे पास दो हाथ हैं, तो वैसे ही मल्टीप्लाई हो जाता है. So if we have that urge, if we have that attitude, I'm sure each one of us can contribute. And it's not too far off that by 2047, I'm sure even by 2030, we would have crossed the bridge and we would be out there. So I urge upon each one of you, I cajole you, persuade you, कि कोई बात नहीं ना, 7वीं मंजिल पे एक साथ नहीं चढ़ा जाता, पहली सीढ़ी तो चढ़नी पड़ती है ना, पहली सीढ़ी चढ़ना शुरू करते हैं. All the best and good luck to each one of you. And wishing all the best for the success of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words of wisdom, encouragement, blessings, and good wishes. It means a lot to us. I now invite our principal, Professor Arun Kumar Atri, to deliver the welcome address.
Mr. Pranav Sharma, guest of honor of the day, Professor Anjuvali Tikku, chairperson of the governing body, and our conference director, Dr. Kavita Yadav, sorry, and organizing secretary, Shilpi Malhotra, and our senior faculty member, Dr. Vinod J. Kaul, our senior former principal, Dr. P.K. Khurana, senior faculty members from the morning college, evening college, and my dear students. It's a matter of great pride and pleasure for us to address you on this conference on the theme Samriddha Bharat, a journey to third largest economy. Now, Shaheed Bhagat Singh Evening College has been organizing this conference, this pattern of conference they have started under the leadership of Dr. P.K. Khurana, who is here. So I feel elated to continue that tradition of Department of Commerce of Evening College and address you in this gathering. Now, first of all, when you see the theme, Samriddha Bharat and Viksit Bharat. Viksit Bharat cannot be, the goal of Viksit Bharat cannot be achieved without Samriddha Bharat. what we need to understand is that Samriddha Bharat may have certain parameters. We are saying that we are having a journey to third largest economy. Right now, we are fifth largest economy in the world. And how we are going to move toward third largest economy, what path it would be having, what trajectory it would be following, that we have to see, we have to ponder upon. Now, since I am a commerce student, I studied leadership. And the leadership definition, what I have gone through is the leadership is the ability to inspire, to motivate, to stimulate people and bind the group together, where the leader can tell the path, that this is what the path, and motivate people to achieve those goals. So a leader has a job to fill the followers to with the energy, so that they work towards that goal. Now, India's leadership has taken a goal of Viksit Bharat. Now, this goal itself has filled people with a lot of energy, with a lot of positivity. कोई negativity तो आई नहीं किसी को ये सुन के कि Viksit Bharat. Everybody got elated to know that yes, we can become Viksit Bharat, we can become a developed country by 2047. But this journey for Viksit Bharat is not going to be easy. It has certain parameters. Though I am not from economics, but economics is being considered as a light discipline of commerce. So have little knowledge of economics. And since recently we have concluded so many interviews, so knowledge further enhanced by taking the interviews, because you always remain a student. Even if you have become a teacher, you always remain a student. So there are certain parameters, like economic parameters are there when you want to talk about the economic growth, and another is the GDP size. So I will just present you certain facts, and you can see that where we stand and where we can go. So when you talk about economic growth and size of GDP, it took India 60 years to become $1 trillion economy. So हमें 60 साल लगे $1 trillion economy बनने में. After that, we became $2 trillion economy in 2014. हम 2014 में $2 trillion economy थे. So now you can see that what happened in 2014, and after that where we have reached. By 2019, we became $3 trillion economy. 5 सालों में हम $3 trillion economy हो गए. And by end of 2024, it is expected that we will be, right now we are at $3.7 trillion economy, and we will be $4 trillion economy. In next 2-3 years, we are going to have $5 trillion economy. And by 2030, it is expected that we will be $7 trillion economy. And after 2030, we are expected to add $1 trillion to our economy every year. So $1 trillion economy will be added to our economy every year. Then by 2047, what we would become? In order to become a developed country, can anybody think that how much figure we need to touch to become a developed country by $1 trillion economy? It's $25 trillion economy. So we have to reach that goal of $25 trillion economy to become a developed country. USA right now has $26 trillion economy. तो अगर हम सोचो $7 trillion economy हो जाएंगे, मतलब जब गवर्नमेंट ने ये सोचा कि how you will become a developed country by 2047, तो $7 trillion economy हो गए हम 2030 में, और अगले 17 सालों तक $1 trillion हम और ऐड करेंगे, तो 7 + 17 24. This is the reason that the Prime Minister has set this goal of Viksit Bharat by 2047, because then we will be reaching around $25 trillion economy. Now, you know that when 60 years back, India was $1 trillion economy. Now our UP state, which was known as Uttar Pradesh earlier, now has developed so much that now they are becoming $1 trillion economy. एक प्रदेश जो है वो देश की इकोनॉमी में $1 trillion इकोनॉमी ऐड कर रहा है. So ये हमारे लिए बड़े गर्व की बात है. And IMF has, as per the data, you may verify it, whether it has some discrepancy or not. It has, IMF has said this, that Tata Group, the Tata Group has the net worth which is more than entire budget of Pakistan. So our one corporate house is having more net worth than the neighboring country जो हमारे साथ ही आजाद हुआ. Now, another thing that we have to compare, when we are comparing ourselves, comparison is important, because comparison let us know where we are lacking and where we have to move. So America is having a population of 40 crores and India is having a population of 140 crores. तो 100 करोड़ का फासला है, हम 100 करोड़ ज्यादा हैं उनसे. अब ये ज्यादा है तो ये हम स्कूल में हमको ये ऐसे भी आता था, पॉपुलेशन बून और बेन. तो ये पॉपुलेशन बेन अभिशाप कब हो जाएगा और बून हमारी ताकत कब बनेगा? If we have these 100 crore people are skilled workforce, then it gives a strength to any economy. Now, if you see the economic growth, जब हम economic growth की बात करते हैं, तो growth बड़ा important factor है to telling you that whether you are going to become a समृद्ध भारत or not, or विकसित भारत or not. If we see the British period में हमारी economic growth कितनी थी? From 1900 till 1950, I am taking data, though we got freedom in 1947. So around these 50 years, the economic growth was 0%. सोचो 0%. जहां हम 1900 में थे वहीं हम 1950 में थे. ये डेटा बताता है. 50 से 80, 30 सालों में our economic growth became 3.5%. Then from 80 to 2002, we became 5.7%. The growth became 5.7%. And from 2003 to 8, it was 8 to 9%. And from 9 to 14, it was 7.2%. If we take the entire average from 1900 till 2021, the average comes to 5.8% growth. Now, in order to become a developed nation, we need economic growth of 9%. हमें अगले 20 साल तक हमें 9% की इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ चाहिए. बड़ा टफ टास्क लगता है. अगर हम चाइना को कंपेयर करें तो चाइना की जो इकोनॉमी है $20 ट्रिलियन है अभी राइट नाउ. अगर हम पर कैपिटा इनकम की बात करें, कैन यू गेस व्हाट इंडियाज पर कैपिटा इनकम इज? पर कैपिटा इनकम मतलब एक व्यक्ति की आय साल में कितनी है? 1950 में आफ्टर द इंडिपेंडेंस इट वाज 265 रुपीज पर कैपिटा इनकम, 265 रुपए थी. 2000 में, ईयर 2000, आप लोग बहुत सारे लोग पैदा हुए हैं 2000 में, उसके बाद ही हुए हैं कई तो स्टूडेंट्स तो. 18,000 रुपए, 18,000. 2010 60,000. 2022 1,50,000 and now 2,16,000. अब सोचो, if we become a developed country, if we dream to become a developed country, अगर हम विकसित भारत बनने की सोचते हैं तो कितनी पर कैपिटा इनकम होनी चाहिए? कितनी पर कैपिटा इनकम, एक व्यक्ति की आय कितनी होनी चाहिए कि हम अपने आप को विकसित भारत बोल पाएंगे? 11 लाख रुपए, 11 लाख. अच्छा, ये पर कैपिटा इनकम, ये फिगर हमारा जो है ना बड़ा, जब हम देख रहे हैं हमारा बड़ा कम हो जाता है. रीजन बीइंग कि हम 140 करोड़ है. अगर हम छोटा देश होंगे तो हमारे को डेवलप करना बड़ा आसान होता है. आप सोचोगे कॉलेज को डेवलप करने में कितनी एनर्जी लगती है, यूनिवर्सिटी को करने में कितनी लगेगी, पूरे देश को डेवलप करने में कितनी लगेगी. मतलब मेरा ही पूरा दिन चला जाता है इन कॉन्ट्रैक्टरों से, इन्हीं से सब पूरे दिन में घूमते घूमते कि ये काम क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो, वो काम नहीं कर रहे हो. सो व्हेन यू वांट टू ब्रिंग चेंज, व्हेन यू वांट टू डेवलप, इट रिक्वायर्स लॉट ऑफ एनर्जी. सो व्हेन आवर लीडरशिप, जब मैं बात कर रहा था लीडरशिप की, तो लीडरशिप हैज दिस रोल टू इंस्पायर यू टुवर्ड्स ए पर्टिकुलर गोल. और ये हम लोगों का सबका कर्तव्य बन जाता है. If the Prime Minister or the Government of India has given this goal, set this goal that by 2047 we are going to become a developed nation, It is there that everybody should get filled with this energy and work towards that goal. अब ये हम करेंगे कैसे, ये भी थोड़ा सा देख लेते हैं कि हम करेंगे कैसे. देखिए, अगर हम कंट्रीब्यूशन देखें इकोनॉमी में डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स का, हमारी इकोनॉमी में डिफरेंट उसका सेक्टर्स का क्या योगदान है, तो सर्विस सेक्टर कंट्रीब्यूट करता है 54%, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर कंट्रीब्यूट करता है 26% एंड एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर कंट्रीब्यूट्स 20%. If we have a comparison of this Indian economy with US economy, US में करता है सर्विस सेक्टर 80% कंट्रीब्यूशन. 80%, हमारा कितना है 54, उनका करता है 80%. और सर्विस इंडस्ट्री करता है 19% और एग्रीकल्चर पता है कितना करता है? 1%. 1% कंट्रीब्यूशन है यूएस का. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूं कि एग्रीकल्चर इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, बट ये फिगर डेटा का मतलब क्या है वो समझना बड़ा जरूरी है. अगर हम चाइना को कंपेयर करें, चाइना का सर्विस सेक्टर कंट्रीब्यूट करता है 55%, विच इज नियर टू अस. हमारा 54 है, उनका 55 है. इंडस्ट्री उनका 38% है, लेकिन एग्रीकल्चर उनका 7% है. इसका मतलब जितने भी डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज हैं उनके एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर का कंट्रीब्यूशन इज अराउंड 1 डिजिट है, 1 डिजिट में परसेंटेज में आता है. Now, इसका मतलब क्या है कि एग्रीकल्चर इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है? नहीं. यू सी दैट मेनी ऑफ अस वी कम फ्रॉम एग्रीगेरियन सोसाइटी. हम एक ग्रामीण पृष्ठभूमि से आते हैं, मैं भी उनमें से हूं. और हमने देखा किसी की एक की नौकरी लग जाती है गांव में से तो पूरी जनरेशन ठीक हो जाती है उसकी. वी नीड टू रिड्यूस अवर डिपेंडेंसी ऑन एग्रीकल्चर एंड वी नीड टू अभी बड़े सारे किसान बैठे हैं कुछ तो वो मैं उस डिबेट में नहीं जाना चाहता, लेकिन वी नीड टू सी दैट हाउ व्हाट इंपैक्ट इट इज गोइंग टू बी देयर. वी नीड टू एम्पावर, वी नीड टू वर्क अपॉन दैट. द प्रोडक्टिविटी जो है ना, वो हमारे इतने ज्यादा, हमारी जो इकोनॉमी है उसमें बहुत ज्यादा एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर में लोग काम करते हैं, लेकिन उनका आउटपुट उतना नहीं है. आउटपुट होना बड़ा जरूरी है. एमएसपी से आउटपुट कितना बढ़ेगा ये इकोनॉमिस्ट मेरे से बेटर समझ सकते हैं बिना पॉलिटिकल बायस के ये सोचते हुए. So we need to increase our core competency in the service sector. अगर देख लो, अगर हमें डेवलप्ड कंट्री बनना है तो हमें एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर का उसमें से लोग, मतलब ऐसा होता है कि एक परिवार में 20 लोग हैं, एक ही एग्रीकल्चर एक लैंड पे डिपेंडेंट है. तो आइडिया ये है कि वहां से लोग निकलें, सर्विस सेक्टर में आए, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर में आए. चाइना ने इतना ग्रोथ इसलिए किया कि उन्होंने दे हैव रेवोल्यूशनाइज्ड देयर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर. उन्होंने पूरा रेवोल्यूशनाइज कर दिया अपने मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर को. एंड दे डिड रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग. उन्होंने रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग करी. मतलब आप सोचो कि आपके यहां यूएस ने फैक्ट्रियां लगाई, जो वो प्रोडक्ट्स छोड़ के चले गए, उनको उठा के देखा कि ये हो कैसे रहा है, कैसे कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि टेक्नोलॉजी तो दे के नहीं गए वो. एंड दे डिड रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग एंड फाउंड द वे. सो दैट यू नीड टू हैव ज़ील टू डू दैट. ठीक है. अब ये देख के ऐसा लग रहा है कि बड़ा मुश्किल काम है, बड़ा मुश्किल काम है. 2047 का जो ये विकसित भारत का जो दिख रहा है, इट इज गोइंग टू बी वेरी डिफिकल्ट. लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि ऐसा नहीं है. कई बार हम जब हम मैच देखते हैं, क्रिकेट मैच देखते हैं, तो 434 का टारगेट भी चेज हुआ, 434 का भी तो चेज हुआ था. एक एडविन लॉक की थियरी है, गोल सेटिंग थियरी, व्हिच सेज दैट द टफ गोल्स एनर्जाइज. टफ गोल्स एनर्जाइज, इजी गोल्स डू नॉट. कई बार हम इजी गोल को अचीव करने में फेल हो जाते हैं और टफ से टफ गोल को हम अचीव कर लेते हैं, बिकॉज वो हमारे अंदर एनर्जी एक संचारित पैदा कर देता है. तो सेम थिंग दिस गोल कैन डू. एक पता नहीं कौन से कवि हैं ये, मेरे को बड़ी अच्छी लगी इनकी कविता इस कंटेक्स्ट में. हमारे हिंदी के साथी हैं, वो बता सकते हैं. शायद अशोक रावत जी हैं कोई, जिनकी ये कविता है, पता नहीं, इसको करेक्ट कीजिएगा अगर मैं गलत हूं तो. डर मुझे भी लगा फासला देखकर. दिख रहा है ना फासला 2047 का विकसित भारत का. तो डर मुझे भी लगा फासला देखकर, पर मैं बढ़ता ही गया रास्ता देखकर. है ना, जैसे जैसे बढ़ते जाओ तो रास्ता दिखता जाता है. मैं बढ़ता ही गया रास्ता देखकर. खुद ब खुद मेरे नजदीक आती गई, खुद ब खुद मेरे नजदीक आती गई मेरी मंजिल मेरा हौसला देखकर. तो अगर हमारी लीडरशिप ने ये संकल्प ले लिया कि ये 2047 तक विकसित भारत करना है, तो ये आप कर सकते हैं। देखिए, जो बहुत सारे लोगों ने संकल्प लिया कि राम मंदिर बनना है, तो उस टाइम बड़ा इम्पॉसिबल सा लगता था कि नहीं बन पाएगा, कैसे समीकरण बनेंगे, क्या होगा, लेकिन आज वो पॉसिबल हो पाया। तो कोई भी चीज ऐसे इम्पॉसिबल नहीं होती है। सो दैट बिकेम पॉसिबल। सो इवन द गोल ऑफ 2047 कैन बी अचीव्ड एंड एवरी क्लाउड हैज अ सिल्वर लाइनिंग। तो हमारी सिल्वर लाइनिंग क्या है? तो हमें प्रोत्साहन क्या करता है? हमें प्रोत्साहन ये करता है कि हम आज की डेट में 2014 से पहले कुछ लोगों ने मेक इन इंडिया का बड़ा मजाक उड़ाया था कि अरे देखिए मेक इन इंडिया आया है। पार्लियामेंट में भी मैंने सुना था कि एक शेर है, घड़ी जैसा चलता है, ऐसी ऐसी कुछ बात थी। अगर आप यूट्यूब पे सर्च करेंगे तो पता चल जाएगा आपको कि क्या क्रिटिसिज्म था वो। बट इफ यू सी आफ्टर दैट दिस मेक इन इंडिया इनिशिएटिव, इंडिया हैज बिकम सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट हब ऑफ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, मोबाइल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग। चाइना के बाद हम सबसे ज्यादा मोबाइल फोन बनाते हैं। हम सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट स्टील प्रोडक्शन में हैं, हम सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट रोड नेटवर्क में हैं, थैंक्स टू अवर मिनिस्टर नितिन गडकरी जी। इफ यू गो इन द आउटस्कर्ट्स, अगर आप जाइए, आप बॉर्डर एरिया में जाइए, इतनी सुंदर सड़कें बनाई हुई हैं, इतनी टनल्स बनाई हैं कि यू विल बी अमेज्ड टू सी कि हम कितने किलोमीटर नेटवर्क हम रोज बना देते हैं। सो वी आर सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट इन रोड नेटवर्क। और हम बड़े सारे सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट हैं राइस में, इसमें, उसमें, और फोर्थ हैं पावर, विंड पावर में, विंड पावर कैपेसिटी में, आफ्टर यूएस, चाइना एंड जापान। रेलवे नेटवर्क में है तो हम हैं ही फोर्थ लार्जेस्ट। और लास्ट में हम सबसे बड़ी, सबसे मजबूत डेमोक्रेसी है कि दुनिया में ऐसी कोई डेमोक्रेसी नहीं है जो 140 करोड़ की हो और इतने अच्छे से चल रही है। So with this, I end my words and thank you for listening to me. So sorry, मैं किसी का नाम भूल गया शायद, तो मुझे माफ कीजिएगा। एसपी शर्मा जी का। तो एसपी शर्मा जी हमारे कीनोट स्पीकर हैं और वो हमारी मॉर्निंग की कॉन्फ्रेंस में भी आते हैं, क्योंकि दोनों शर्मा है तो एकदम मेरे को शॉर्ट मेमोरी हो जाती है, कई बार भूल जाते हैं। So I thank you everyone for attending this conference, coming to this conference and making a grand success. And I also thank all the organizing team led by organizing secretary Shilpi Malhotra and Kavita Yadav. And I'm sure that all the sessions are going to be, very insightful and brainstorm. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful words. You are our best motivator. Our Josh is always high when you are around. I would now humbly request all the dignitaries raised on the dais to release conference proceedings. A big round of applause, please. I thank all the luminaries for initiating the conference through this meaningful gesture. Moving on, we are honored to have amongst us today Mr. Pranav Sharma. Mr. Pranav Sharma is an astronomer and science historian known for his work on the history of Indian space program. He has curated Space Museum at the B.M. Birla Science Center, Hyderabad. He was in charge of the history of Indo-French Scientific Partnership Project supported by the Embassy of France in India. He is a national award-winning science communicator and has extensively worked in the popularization of astronomy education in India. He is the co-lead on the History of Data-Driven Astronomy project hosted at Caltech. He also serves as the policy and diplomacy advisor to United Nations International Computation Center, advisor to the France-India Foundation, scientific advisor to ARC Ventures, science diplomacy consultant to Indian National Science Academy, and member secretary for G20 Science 20. He has also co-authored the book Essential Astrophysics, Interstellar Medium to Stellar Eminence. We are delighted to have you as a guest of honor, sir. I request Mr. Pranav Sharma to please come and address the gathering.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Turns out I'm not a morning person. How are you doing today? Thank you so much, dignitaries, for inviting me to deliver a small talk. I'd keep it brief as possible. And when we had a discussion with Dr. Malhotra, the idea was to talk about how modern technologies can be utilized for economic benefits. But before I go, I'm wearing my Indian hat, not my UN hat today. So I'd be very candid in making remarks. I think one of the most important things that need to be understood at this juncture is that there are industrial fruits of science that the civilization has taken up over the centuries. If you look at what happened, the drastic change that happened in the 17th and 18th century is the owners of civilization became more dependent on the man, and there was a non-deity performance that had to be done, which was naval expeditions. And to do naval expeditions, you required science, and naval expeditions were basically the expeditions for commerce. And then you required science to not only go hunt for new things, but also come back. And that was one very interesting transition that happened from a deity-based civilization to a non-deity-based entity. And if you are interested, you might want to look at what objective morality means. And that was the birth of what became of objective morality. Now, this was very interesting new Europeanism which started, which created what would become of the colonial world in much later stages. But then this was entirely dependent on man and man's tools. The economic benefits can be reaped across civilization, across geographical locations, but they were dependent on how you're going to utilize the thought of the day. And the thought of the day in those times was scientific progress, maps, tools of naval expeditions. There were different, I remember there was a book by Nicolas L'Empereur which documented the entire botanics of the Coromandel coast, which was lying in France, and they used to come and hunt for those kind of herbs and do a lot of research. Then, of course, the entire Indology department started, and there was the entire research, so on and so forth. But when science came to us in the 19th century, it came to us as more of a reformist exercise, and which we utilized throughout the nationalization project to actually turn it around and use it against the colonialist powers. We used the knowledge of reformism to change it again, to utilize it for our own economic benefits and to lead the nationalist cause. So one thing which I really wanted to establish in this conference is that one has to see and understand that economic prosperity is directly proportional to scientific progress. And that needs to be understood and set forth once the discourses start evolving. And I'm, all right. So when I was, colonization project. So when the colonization project and then eventually the 20th century came, and then you realize that there was an entire race around quantum mechanics, which nobody understood, and Einstein, who basically started the revolution, stood in front of quantum revolution to stop it, which is identical to what is happening right now in terms of artificial intelligence. And as you realize that the entire neo-colonial project, which started in around mid-20th century, which started with the space race, the nuclear arms race, with the telecommunications race, connecting the world and this and that, and utilizing that kind of scientific technologies to economically, one, empower and also disempower other nations, and utilize that kind of ideas and knowledge to ensure that a certain kind of geopolitics exists in certain sections of the world, be it the bloc politics or the Cold War politics or any other kind of economic flow which was going from west to east or east to west or north to south. It was entirely dependent on who has more science in their country. Institutions were established, national laboratories were established. We also, India was imagined as a scientific nation at the bereft of, the entire modernist project, which was the cornerstone of the mid-20th century. So now, when as Dr. Atri laid out very correctly, that it's a progressive exponential graph. So it takes a lot of time to progress to a cliff point, and then once the function starts executing itself after a certain variable, the resultant values go completely berserk. So that is the kind of time that we landed in like almost a decade ago. That when whatever we do, if we become friends with science, we were able to reap the benefits of it. And that is where our new idea that we had just published a paper on with the economic advisory to the Prime Minister on caste-based regulations on artificial intelligence. I'll go in it in a moment. But before that, I wanted to elucidate to you that the fact that technology is empowering nations like us, and the fact that we are in a position to use those kind of technological tools through various not only government mandated programs, but also our own initiatives, like the entire startup initiative, which is basically the Atal Innovation Program, which is headed by Chintan Vaishnav. And it basically creates a support ecosystem. It doesn't really, go out to tell you what kind of things that you want to do. If you're doing something great, let me come and, help you out and do things. So it's the onus has shifted, and I think that has shifted very rightly. And then because we were imagined as a scientific nation, we were also utilizing, tools of science to, conduct ourselves and progress across several decades. So now we have landed ourselves at a juncture where technologies are changing our lives in ways that we don't even really understand. When the social media revolution happened, nobody knew that it would become such a great tool of communication, but also a great tool of hysteria. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? We did not know that. The entire, people from marketing would agree, perhaps, when I say this, that the entire marketing has shifted from billboards to social media posts now. It's a completely new world. Now we've landed ourselves in times where artificial intelligence and neural large language models are taking up spaces where humans have existed before, especially in the areas wherein creativity used to be a cornerstone of work. There's a very interesting report, if you want to have a look, there's an ILO report which says that the future of work is really under question when things like artificially intelligent generated algorithms are taking up the entire bureaucratic control, and it rightly so. I think there was one company I was reading the other day which has completely given consumer readdressal system to generative algorithms, which is very interesting. And if the generative algorithm does something obscure, now the question is, Professor Tiku is here. I think she'd be in more the rightful position to answer this question, which we've been also struggling. That if one fine day some algorithm does something serious, who is to be blamed, because there is no subject entity on which law can be exercised. It's a very new kind of world, and that's when we thought, it'll be interesting to sit down and think about the kind of regulations we want to do when artificial intelligence really takes off in a country such as India, because yes, the challenges are vast, the opportunities are also vast. So we came up with the complex adaptive system-based protocols, wherein we said that, let's establish guardrails and partitions, wherein what we do is that two distinct systems will not be able to talk to each other until unless they are required to do so. And you create clear boundaries to limit undesirable AI behavior. And that gives some leeway to law to exercise itself in those kind of dimensions. Then we stated, which was very clear from our learning from the kind of policy analysis that we did across several areas, from the United Nations to Europe, UK, China. What we realized was that, there is an importance, there should be an importance given to overrides, wherein we cannot have complete Internet of Things, which China is modeling, that from generation to execution, for example, power grids, from generation to execution, if you automatize everything, if there's a bug which exists in the algorithm, it is going to really bring the grid down. So what we said that, let's have manual overrides where you can have, where some Internet of some things are permissible, which is partitioned by these overrides wherein somebody has to pull an analog switch. The third thing that we really wanted to establish is that, the regulator, whosoever it is, has to be explained on what kind of models exist in the land. It's extremely important, and the models need to be explainable to the regulator. I mean, they can or cannot be, explainable to the people who are utilizing those kind of models. But for the regulator, it is extremely important to understand on what kind of algorithm is running on what kind of data and what kind of model it's generating, to ensure that a certain kind of law that can exist, that can regulate if something goes off track. And then we said, we really need to clearly define, have a clear defining lines on AI accountability, wherein we mandate standardized incident reporting protocols to document any system aberrations or failures. So our system, which we are advocating for artificial intelligence protocols, does not only require you to report like SEBI if something completely breaks down, but also requires you to report if there is an error in the system that exists. So there's a complete repository on what kind of errors exist if there are some aberrations happening here and there. And then we say that, we really need a specialist regulator wherein you utilize the expertise of all the technologists who are working in the field, people who are experts in technological law and digital law, people who are experts in data governance, all of them put together, put a specialized agile regulator like SEBI, which deals into artificial intelligence models, regulations on a case-to-case basis. So those are the kind of things that we've been talking about. But that should not be a limiting case for any kind of opportunities that do arise and do utilize artificial intelligence systems in different kind of fields. It's extremely important to use the fruits of technology of the day. As I said, in the 17th century, when the onus shifted from a deity-based civilization to a non-deity-based entity, which was pure knowledge, this is the time where we actually have reached the cliff of the graph, where whatever variable you put, the resultant variable that you will get is going to be extremely high. And with that, I think I should stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind presence and your words of guidance. We are extremely grateful to you for taking out time from your busy schedule and joining us. It is with great pleasure that now I would like to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. S.P. Sharma. Dr. S.P. Sharma has around 25 years of diverse experience in various areas of the economy, trade and industry. He started his career with Government of Punjab in 1996 and subsequently moved to Government of India, ASSOCHAM, PwC and Tatas. Currently, he is working with PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry as Chief Economist and Deputy Secretary General. He has conducted more than 200 research studies and has participated in more than 300 programs as an esteemed panelist organized by various reputed government and industry organizations. Dr. Sharma has addressed several international conferences organized by various prestigious universities like University of Portsmouth, University of Leeds, IIM Trichy, to name a few. He also addressed International Climate Summit 2022 in Norway. He appears in various prestigious panel discussions and roundtables conducted by various TV channels such as Lok Sabha TV, Sunset TV, Doordarshan, and CNBC. He is a regular participant in the prestigious program Market Mantra of All India Radio. He is member of editorial board of Journal Press of India, advisory group of Birla Institute of Management and Technology, Surya Foundation, Geeta Ratan Institute of Management, Indian Institute of Finance, Jaipuria Institute of Management, Presidency University Bangalore, among others. He is MPhil in Industrial Economics and PhD in International Economics from prestigious Punjab University, Chandigarh. Sir, it is an honor to have you amongst us. I request Dr. Sharma to please come and address the gathering.
Thank you, ma'am, for a nice introduction. And very good morning to all. Professor P.K. Khurana, respected Professor P.K. Khurana ji, former principal Shaheed Bhagat Singh College. Professor Atri, principal Shaheed Bhagat Singh College. Professor Kavita Yadav, Professor Anju Wale Tikko, and Mr. Pranav Sharma, Shri Vinod J. Kaul, and all the dignitaries on the dais and respected faculty members, dear students. At the outset, I thank you all for inviting me to present my viewpoint as a keynote speaker in this prestigious conference organized by Shaheed Bhagat Singh College. And I congratulate the journey of Shaheed Bhagat Singh College, the glorious journey. And I saw your connotations about the introduction that the progress trajectory was very, very dynamic during the last many years. And I pay my full devotion to Shaheed Bhagat Singh. मैं उस पंजाब ਦੇ ਸਪੂਤ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਤ-ਸ਼ਤ ਪ੍ਰਣਾਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਜਿਸਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆਜ਼ਾਦ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ we are able to speak and we are able to express ourselves and in a free air and free environment. So this conference, Samriddh Bharat, Shaksham Bharat, Developed India, this is very, very important, and not only in India, but at the global level, people are discussing that India is going to become a developed economy by 2047. So how this journey will take place, as Professor Atri mentioned, so many dynamics of the Indian economy, starting from its independence and before independence and the journey going forward. Firstly, we have to check the last 15 years from the Lehman crisis, how the economy, world economy moved from the golden era to the struggling era of trade wars and then the geopolitical developments. We saw the Lehman crisis in 2008 that hit almost all the economies in the world economic system. And before US recovered from that severe crisis, Europe was in crisis. Europe was in sluggish mode and Europe was not able to grow. Europe was growing in the negative trajectory. And before Europe recovered, Japan was in crisis because of the natural calamities and slowdown in the demand trajectory and the slowdown in GDP and trade and investment. And before Japan recovered, China started slowing down in 2015, 16, 17. And before China recovered to its original growth rate of 7%, 8%, or 9%, there was a trade war between China and US in 2017, 18, and you must have observed that there was a severe impact on the global economy by 0.7%, and we saw a deceleration of $7 trillion in the global global GDP. And before this trade war settled, India was hit by the cyclical and the slowing economy and the structural slowdown. And there were discussions that whether this slowdown is structural or cyclical. There were so many seminars in 1819, if you remember, discussions at the university level, at the colleges, and the various discussions that India is hit by this structural or the cyclical downturn, and there were a lot of debates. And before we settle this debate, coronavirus hit us in 2020. And whole global economy was in deceleration, and India was also not insulated from that development. And we also observed 24% minus growth in the first quarter of 2021. But government took so many years, I'll discuss. But before we recovered from that coronavirus of 2020 and 2021, the world economy was again impacted by the geopolitical developments, Russia-Ukraine war. And before this war settled, again there are geopolitical developments in Gaza and Israel, and there are news that Iran and Pakistan are also in tussle, and there is deceleration in the geopolitical trajectory. So these 15 years, starting from 2018 to 2008, these were very, very dynamic for the world economy. And how India behaved, India performed in this quagmire of the geopolitical and the pandemic and the trade war and so many developments in the global ecosystem with our dynamic reforms. The nature of Indian economy is moving from slow to steady, then steady to fast, and then fast to fastest. Not only fastest, but from Earth to Moon and then to Surya Namaskar. So we started slowing from 60s, 70s, and we were steady in 80s, as Professor Attri mentioned, that economy started observing growth in 1980s. And 1991, there was plethora of reforms by the Rao Manmohan model of economic growth, LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. And there was not any breakthrough in the Indian economy, and it took around to double income, 40 years to double income from 1950 to 1990. Your 100 rupees were converted in 200 after 40 years from 1950 to 1990. But now your real income doubles every 17 years, and your nominal income doubles every 10 years. As mentioned, Professor Atri mentioned that our GDP almost doubled from $2 trillion to $4 trillion in 2024 in the last 10, 11 years. So how the trajectory of Indian economy is moving from the green revolution to the reforms of the LPG, then the free trade agreements in 2000s, and then the multilateral trade agreements in 2004, 5, 6, and thereafter the start of the mega reforms of Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and PLI, and more recently the adoption of the artificial intelligence by many industries in India. And reforms trajectory resulted in the resilience of the economy. If you go by the numbers, during the last 3 years, after the pandemic, our growth rate is more than 7%. We grew 9.1% in 21-22 and 7.2% in 22-23. And for the current year, we will be grow at 7.3% as mentioned by NSO, National Statistical Organization, in its advanced estimates. And the projections for the next year are also very optimistic and promising. And there are projections that we will grow more than 7% in the next year also in 24-25. And we will become $4 trillion economy in 2024. As Professor Atri also mentioned in his speech was very dynamic actually. I am impressed by his knowledge of economics. So, and we will be $5 trillion economy in the next 2-3 years and $7 trillion by 2030. And that thereafter we will be growing and adding $1 trillion every year in our GDP. And the good news is that we are contributing 15% in the global growth. Most of dear students, and because our contribution in global GDP is at 3.3 or 3.4% right now. In a global GDP of $107 trillion, we are 3.3 or 3.4%, and it will become 3.8, 3.9% in the next 5-6 years. But we are contributing 15% in the global growth. What is the meaning of this 15%? This is explaining if the global GDP, incremental GDP is $100, suppose the base is $1,000, and the next year GDP becomes $1,100, $100 are added, then the $15 are coming from India. So that is the trajectory of Indian economy, that we are contributing the growth of the world economy by 15%. If the $100 are added, then $15 are coming from India. Now, how this trajectory is going to become a developed economy in the coming times? We started our reforms from Make in India. Now the Make in India is becoming more and more visible, and we are becoming the manufacturing hub, and we are already achieved great sites in the mobile manufacturing and manufacturing in so many products, and that is reflected by the trajectory of exports. That last year we achieved $770 billion exports, the highest number during the last 75 years since the start of our independence. And the target of our exports is $2 trillion by 2030, of which $1 trillion will come from merchandise and $1 trillion will come from services. Not only this, the exports trajectory, that we have achieved a great heights in the export trajectory. We achieved this trajectory from $20 billion in 1991. Our exports in 1991 were $20 billion only, and we achieved $770 billion last year. Not only the exports, but the capital market, your Sensex, your Nifty, at all-time high. And how we achieved this trajectory from 1991? Sensex was, on 1st January 1991, Sensex was 999. 999 आपका Sensex था. Now the Sensex is more than 71, 72 thousand. Okay. So trajectory of exports, trajectory of your stock market and your forex, which are increasing every year to newer and newer highs. So this story, the post-pandemic story, after the coronavirus, how the government provided the great hand-holding through the capex. The government provided a great push through the infrastructure. Your infrastructure story, your infrastructure expenditure increased from 3-4 lakh crore to 7-8 lakh crore, then 1100 lakh crore for the next interim budget. 11,11,111 करोड़ का जो है अगले साल जो है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर स्पेंडिंग होने वाला है. That is a great thing which has happened, that the government is providing a great push through the infrastructure. Why the government is focusing on the infrastructure for the more and more capex? Because when you put your money in capex, that create aggregate demand in the economy. Your skilled, unskilled, and semi-skilled workforce is absorbed in the system. They are getting the jobs. Some people are getting in construction activity. क्योंकि कंस्ट्रक्शन में आप किसी को भी अनस्किल्ड को भी लगा दो कि ईंट को उठा के यहाँ से वहां पे रख के आना है, उसको भी दिहाड़ी बन जाएगी शाम तक. So government thought process is very, very dynamic, and they are touching the every aspect of the economy, every economic activity in the system. So this infrastructure story is going to become very, very dynamic for the Indian economy. And the recent reform, what is the recent reform? The budget was evolving around Gyan, G-Y-A-N. What is this Gyan? Your Garib, your Yuva, Annadata, and Nari Shakti. And I believe more than 60% of population is falling in the Gyan. And this will touch the every aspect and every corner of the economic activity. And your economy will become more and more strong in the coming times by 2030 or by 2040, and by 2047 we will be a developed economy. And how the trajectory of Indian economy will help the youngsters, our students, our smiling faces. Now the government has focused on the R&D activity. If you go by the numbers of the interim budget, they have provided 1 lakh crore for the research and development activity in the interim budget. Why I am highlighting this issue? Because I was getting so many representations from industry that, Dr. Sharma, there must be some incentive for the R&D activity, for the development of R&D activity, because we are not able to put lot of money in this development, because it takes a lot of time. If you start your R&D activity, the gestation time is very large, and you took your resulting figure by 10 years or 15 years. So now they have provided 1 lakh rupees for the development of R&D that will be incentivized, interest-free for the 50 years. Great thing. That because industry will not do their own research, they will call the youngsters, they will call the engineers, students, commerce students to put their efforts in their research and development in their respective factories. So R&D activity is also becoming more and more important, and pushing factor for the growth of innovation and startups in India. Startups, we are number 3 in the startup ecosystem after US and China. And recently, a report by US says that in Asia, out of 15 startups, 5 startup ecosystems are from India. So India's startup system is becoming very, very important. Agriculture sector. I would say, as an economist, don't ignore the agriculture sector, because you can't grow and you will not be able to grow without the agriculture. Observe that 50% population is dependent on the agriculture sector. Your 50% demand is coming from agriculture sector. In layman language, इसको छोटे से छोटा बच्चा भी समझ जाएगा कि अगर 50% पॉपुलेशन आपकी एग्रीकल्चर के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है, आपकी 50% डिमांड जो है वो एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर से ही आएगी. So how the manufacturers will sell their products in the market if the agriculture sector is slowing down? Your 50% demand is slowing down and you are asking for the capacity expansion because your capacities are operating at 70 or 80%. You will expand your capacities if the demand is there. So demand has to be generated through the agriculture sector. When your agriculture sector develops, flourish, then the demand for goods and services, and your manufacturers are able to deploy more and more workforce in their respective factories, and then they look for the capacity expansion. And then the agriculture disguised workforce also started shifting from the agriculture sector to the productive factories. So this is the theory of economics which create demand, and demand must come from any promising or large sector of the economy, whether from services or the other sector, because we are representing 50% of the agriculture sector, so the major demand will come from the agriculture sector. If you go by the numbers, a magic figure is that agriculture exports are, I believe, are moving faster than the software export. Your agriculture exports were $30 billion in 1920 and $40 billion in 2021 and more than $50 billion in 21-22. I think because software exports are more than $100 billion, but the speed of exports will be larger than software in the coming times. Because, why I'm saying so? If you go by the worldwide agriculture economy, there are more than $1,300 billion imports worldwide. And our presence is 0.5%. Despite an agrarian economy, we are contributing 0.5% of the global imports of the food and agriculture products. And this has to be increased. There is a lot of potential. We can increase it to the level of $250 billion, $300 billion, $400 billion, $500 billion. If Middle Eastern countries are able to fulfill our energy demand of 95%, then why not we are fulfilling their demand of agriculture products by 70, 80% or more than 50%, which is only 4-5% right now. So we have a lot of opportunities to move forward because we don't have to import the inputs for the agriculture exports. We have our own inputs and we are making new highs in our agriculture food production. And the focus must be on the rural enterprises and the food processing so that the rural population, the rural youth is able to get their adequate job in the rural enterprises, and they are also participating in the trajectory of economic growth. And the great thing which has happened during the last 10 years is the reduction in multidimensional poverty. Our multidimensional poverty during the last 10-11 years has been reduced from 29% to 11%. With the more and more focus of the government on the roti kapda or makan and free food for the 80 crore people. So going forward, India will remain lucrative. We are lucrative in the global charts in so many numbers, not only these of doing business that we improved from 142 to 63, but in the GDP, we are contributing significantly in GDP. And our growth is fastest, not only in the advanced economies, but in the major developed and developing economies. And the one number you will be surprised that in the post-pandemic years, our export growth was also more than the top 20 leading exporters. If you go by the IMF data, your export growth was more than the top 20 exporters. So dynamic reforms and the policy push and the hand-holding by the government is becoming visible, and we look forward that we are going to become a dual economy and we are able to provide the jobs to our growing young population. But we have to focus on the cost factor. We have to reduce the cost of doing business. There are 4 or 5 costs. The students of commerce must note that 5 costs are problematic for the manufacturers, which are reducing their price cost margins at this juncture. These costs are the cost of power, cost of finances, cost of logistics, cost of compliances, and cost of land. These costs are impacting, and we have to reduce these costs to become more and more competitive and lucrative in the global ecosystem, and to participate more and to become developed by 2047. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind, and I look forward to the questions from your side. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such meaningful insights and the plethora of knowledge that you have shared with us. It was wonderful listening to you. I now request Shri Vinod J. Kaul, sir, to kindly propose vote of thanks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is an occasion of great pleasure for me today, being here to present a vote of thanks in front of people who have been, my guides. In fact, Dr. P.K. Khurana sitting in the front row. It brings back that nostalgia that we started, many things from the same hall and many conferences together. And, it gets me back to those days. Thank you very much for coming here, sir, today. So as far as today's, discussions and the keynote address presented by Dr. Sharma and young Sharma also, by Honorable, Governing Body Chairman, Professor Tiku, and the young and dynamic visionary principal of the college, current principal of the college, Professor Arunatri. Lesser said, better would be. Everything is in front of us. We've seen a lot of things happening in the college. And before I actually, I have to say a few things about Professor Arunatri also. But before I say something about him, I would just complete the formal vote of thanks. So I'll complete that. You'll give me just one moment. That's important. So we don't have Professor Mukhi today with us, but still we are thankful to him. He had given his consent, accepted our invitation, and it was late yesterday evening that he was unwell. He could not come. So therefore, we have Professor Dubey would certainly convey our thanks to the former governor. And as far as our guest of honor today is Professor Anjuvali Tiku, and the keynote speaker, Shri S.P. Sharma, and as I said, our visionary principal, Professor Arun Kumar Atri, conference director, Professor Kavita Yadav, organizing secretary, my young colleague, Shilpi Malhotra. Excellent job, done. Respected colleagues from the college, fraternity, both day and evening. I'm seeing a lot of faces from the morning college also. Thank you for being with us today here. Delegates representing their respective institutions, paper presenters, and my dear students. Some are from my classes also here. So on behalf of the conference organizers and the college fraternity, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the distinguished people on the dais today for gracing the inaugural session of this conference. I must place on record our very sincere appreciation to the distinguished speakers of this session for sharing their insights and expertise with the august gathering present here. We believe the message you conveyed shall definitely, especially our keynote speaker, shall set the ball rolling for some stimulating discussions and fruitful exchange throughout this conference. Your valuable observations, sir, have enthused the participants, I can see that, and enriched the event, and has set the tone for the rest of the day. My special thanks are also due to our organizing committee, led by worthy conference organizing secretary, Ms. Shilpi Marota, duly supported and guided by conference director, Professor Kavita Yadav, and conveners, all of them are staying here in front of me, of various committees working day in and day out to ensure the seamless success of today's event, and volunteers and partners for their tireless efforts in making this inaugural session a success. Your hard work and support are noteworthy and have yielded the desired results that we wanted. To all the delegates and attendees here, thank you for your active engagement and enthusiasm. Your diverse perspective and collaborative spirit are essential to the success of this academic discourse. Now, this vote of thanks, definitely I refer to Professor Atri. It would be incomplete if I do not make a special mention of the man of the moment. No, not moment of today, but man of the moment in the college. Now his leadership has given the college a new direction. Now, this is not just a formality. Now this is what is happening in the college, and each one of us are a testimony of those changes, what was going on in the college. Now we have seen the development work taking place in geometrical progression alongside, am I right? Alongside bringing in a plethora of academic enrichment, and all of us know what changes are being introduced and how they are actually working. Processes and plans, because he mentioned that the leadership, a country needs a leader who can take it forward. And all institutions, all families also need leaders. We have had one of the leader, former leader is here with us. And currently we have another leader. And we definitely need a leader who knows what leadership, means, how leadership can bring the actual change. And that's happening in our institution also. So you initiated a marathon. Another achievement to his credit is that he initiated a marathon exercise of appointments in both day and evening college and ensured that the teaching learning process of this institution gets the impetus that was so long awaited. So many thanks, Mr. Principal. And as we embark on this journey, I will just finish now. These were my last words of thanks. As we embark on this journey of learning, discovery, innovation, let us continue to foster meaningful connections and inspire one another to push the boundaries of knowledge and excellence, of course, with integrity. Thank you all once again for your commitment to advancing academia and shaping the future of a new generation sitting in front of us. We look forward to an enriching and productive conference ahead. Thank you very much. Thanks all.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. I request everyone to please rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय 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 हे जय
Now we will have a short tea break for 15 minutes. Arrangements for the tea has been done outside the hall. I would request all the students to please stay seated inside the hall. Let the delegates proceed first for the high tea. Students will be directed when they have to join them. I would request the students to please stay seated inside the hall.